Hi everybody, and welcome to video 4 in the series that looks at the Diamond, the DA40 next generation. It's the one that's got the G1000, the Garmin 1000 unit. And again, it's the Stream Deck we're looking at, and we're looking at part 4, looks at the radio stack and the views button that I programmed in. Now, I did some very in-depth videos on this when I was doing this Cessna 172, so I don't really want to repeat it all. Particularly the views one is quite complex, the way that it handles the variables. So if you want to see how it works, you really are going to have to go and look at that, and I'll reference those in the description and try and make pop-ups come at the appropriate time so you can click on those. Hope they work anyway. But all I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of what they do and how successful they've been. So let's move over to the cockpit, and I'll bring in my Stream Deck as an overlay so it doesn't keep going away. So I'm just going to bring in my Stream Deck up here as well. So you won't be able to see my finger pressing it. It's not a webcam that's pointing at it. I'll just tell you what I'm pressing. So the radio stack. So I'm going to click on the radio stack now. Not sure what you can see on the screen here. Let's have a look. No, it goes behind. Anyway, you can see the radio stack in between the PFD and the MFD, and I'm going to click on that. It is just a folder. So there's one layer below this, and it's got 20 buttons in it. So it's one I created before, and all I've done is copy this across. I haven't really made any alterations to it. I just wanted to see if it worked fine, because it looks identical. This is the radio stack here that we're talking about. Let's try and get that into your view as well. No, don't want to move that one. Let's put that back. I want to move this one here, and you should be able to see the radio stack as well now as my Stream Deck. Okay, so at the moment you'll see on the radio stack that we are talking on COM1 and listening on COM1. I can change that by pressing the COM2 button on my Stream Deck, and you can see that we are now talking and listening on COMS 2. So you could be using this COM here. We can also listen on COM1, so we can listen on more than one frequency at a time. So we can listen on COM1 and on COM2, but only talk on one of those radios. And we can do the same with COM1. We can go back to COM1, and we can talk and listen on COM1, and we can also listen on COM2. So you can monitor another frequency. So you could have the ATIS or something like that on COM2 and bring that in, and then mute it by turning it off, those kind of things. Or have it prepared, so you can taxi and have it prepared for another frequency ready to go. All sorts of things you can do with that. I must admit I don't do it very often, but it's there, the facility to do that. So that all works absolutely fine. There is no COM3. We haven't got 3 radios, so I haven't bothered programming that in at all. We can listen for the marker, the inner and outer marker, which is here. I'm not sure if that's working. It's something that's becoming more and more defunct. That a lot of aerodromes and airports don't have that marker anymore. And you can increase the sensitivity if you wanted to hear it at a greater distance, so that's possible. If you had DME equipment, you could listen to the DME frequency. You can certainly listen to the Morse code of nav1, nav2 and ADF, so you can actually listen in as you're supposed to. If you tune into one of those VORs or NDBs, that you can actually listen to make sure you're tuned into the right one. You read the Morse code from your chart, and you should be able to hear whether you're actually tuned into the one you believe you're tuned into. So they all work quite happily. I've not bothered with those or this bit here, or the volume. So they're not programmed in, just got the basic functions, and everything there seemed to work absolutely fine. So just ported that across and used it. At the bottom I put the air traffic control calls So you can possibly see here that that's going to write an event as if you clicked on option 1 on the menu or option 2 on the menu. So that's all that does. So that if I'm in here and I want to make a call to ACT respond, I can. So I've got that in a number of places. I keep on trying different variants of how I like it. I usually use the keyboard most, but of course the keyboard has to be active. If you've clicked on something else like a map or a flight plan and forgot to click back into your flight simulator, it doesn't read the keyboard, so pressing the buttons is hopeless. So I often put them here. Sometimes I put them on my X-Touch Mini. So that's what I do there with that. I've got all 10 calls in there because sometimes you want to tune into an airport that's a bit far away, so sometimes you have to up to option 10 there. But anyway, porting that across, it just works. And if I press on the folder, if I press on here to get out, I'm now out of that. So that works fine. So we're back out. The views menu. This one here, the views menu. Again, it's actually a profile, and there's quite a complex build behind this. I said I've done the whole other video on what's behind that, so you really need to go and look at that if you want to see how this works. I'm not sure if I don't use it very often because I'm trying to get the experience of actually flying the aircraft. So the idea of going out, standing out on a wing or standing in a drone and looking back at myself is a bit weird. So I don't use it very often. But anyway, just for fun and completeness, I have got that views menu there. And I said it's a bit complex. When you're in the cockpit, you can have various different views. You can have the pilot view, a landing view, so you're like craning your neck up over the cowling a little bit, a close-up view, and you can be in the co-pilot seat. So we can switch across there, and I dealt with the problem we've got in a previous video. For some reason, the pilot view is either not enabled properly or doesn't respond to some of the programming. There's a variable that's playing up, but the close view and the landing view are pretty much all we need anyway. And I use a head tracker, so none of that stuff's particularly relevant for me, but you can go in there and adjust the views. But we can go across the co-pilot and the landing view. Still within the cockpit itself, we can go for the instrument view. So we click on instrument view, and we can move across. These aren't labelled quite as well. I've literally just ported them across from the Cessna, and it was that click on this button here would give me the PFD. Clicking on the next one across would take me to a better view of the MFD, but this one here, it kind of gives me the instrument panel, but I'm close enough to the MFD if I need to be there. Okay, so it's not a bad button. There isn't really much of a panel here, but when I click on the one that's labelled panel, it shows me my throttle and my parking brake. So really I probably need to relabel that one. Pedestal pretty much is the pedestal. It gives me my trim and my fuel gauge, and the overview brings me back to a bit of a panel view, so perhaps a bit of renaming on there if I actually use this and was bothered about it. So we've got this pilot view section across here, we've got the instrument views across here, but all within this cockpit area, and there's also a quick view in the cockpit. So if I click on quick, I can have view number 1, which is looking behind me to see if they're air sick in the back or something like that. Number 2, straight across the wing. 3 is sort of forward and up view. 4, it's this sort of slightly, it's the view you would use to check whether you're at the right place to start a turn to do your base leg. So it's this sort of, it's not the 90-degree view, but it's a sort of slightly backward view. 6 is sort of 45 degrees left, 45 degrees right. 7 is again the one if you're doing a right hand circuit that you'd look out of that window to see if you're ready to start your turn. 8 is sort of over the cowling, ready for a landing view. So they're your quick views that you can get. So if you're in the cockpit view, I also have that's where I want to get out, particularly if I go to my pilot view. Because I use this for all the aircraft, I just have it as 2 clicks. There's no way I can have all of the buttons along here for all the different aircraft I want to return to. So I just make it a 2 click. I go hangar, which takes me to the choice, and then pick the aircraft that I'm currently flying. So it's a 2 click operation to get back. Whatever way I design it, it's going to be at least 2 clicks to get back. So that works well for me. Okay, so that's my views of the cockpit views. The external views, I'm looking at the external view here. If I click the reset button, it's the view from behind the aircraft. If I click choose, I can then go through these different views here. So across the wing, the 45 from the front. So all those views that if you've ever used these external views, you're probably aware of what these do and how they work. 8 doesn't seem to be working for some reason. Let's see if I can get view 8 to work. So I just ported this straight across. I haven't done any alterations to it. It works as well as it ever does. If you press reset, we're back to the behind view. The drone view is there. So I must admit, I usually drive my drone from my joystick. So I'm doing that now on my joystick. So I've got all the various views and moving it across. And the reset button only actually works if you've clicked back into your flight simulator. This reset here is actually a number pad, so your keyboard has to be active for you to do the reset. So you do need to click back on the actual simulator itself. If I click away I've clicked onto my Stream Deck, so you can see my pointer on the Stream Deck. The buttons are working fine, but if I try to press my reset, yeah, nothing much happening there. So it's a bit dodgy. It sort of works. It works in that you have to be clicked in, because so many of these are actually driven by presses on hotkeys and things like that. So anyway, don't use the drone view very much, but if I do, I tend to drive it from my joystick anyway, because I've got all the buttons programmed in on my joystick to move around and hover and lift and have a look around, if that's what I want to do up here. So getting a view of the airport and where I'm flying, that sort of thing. I tend to do it from the joystick, so I'm not too bothered about the buttons, but they're there, they're programmed in. I've tried to remove these. In fact, I'm going to remove this now, because I prefer me to exit from the cockpit. So I go to the cockpit view, and then I exit out of there. That's how I normally get out. Okay, and the last view that I've got, let's go back into my views menu. So my views menu here is the fixed view. Again, just ported this straight across, and some of these views work fine. So view 0, view 1, 2 and 3, but the rest aren't defined. If I press on 4, that's not defined. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, none of those are defined for this aircraft. Again, not a view I use very often. So let's go back and tidy this up. Let's say I don't want to exit to the wrong aircraft, so we'll delete that, get rid of that. So has it gone from the drone view? Yes. Has it gone from the external view? Yes. So the only way out is from the cockpit view, and so this takes us to the hangar profile, where I called it the plane choice, and then pick my aircraft, and we're back out again. Okay, so that's it. All the details are in other videos if you really want to know how this all works. and what you need to put in if you want to create a views panel. It's part of my Cessna 172 series, and same with the radio stack. That's all dealt with when I did the C172, and I've just copied and pasted that folder straight across. Because this is a profile, let's have a look at what profile it is. It just switches us to the camera cockpit profile, so I must have I did it so long I can't remember. There's my camera profile. So I've got that is driven by 4 different profiles, but they're all detailed, as I said, in another video. Okay, so that's it. Just really for completeness, just showing you that making stuff in other aircraft and then copying across, it's feasible. And if you like and need those buttons, you can make once and reuse, perhaps with a tiny bit of editing, as much as you like. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.